President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Dear fellow judges of the bench, do you have any questions to put to the witness? Judge co-defense, you have the floor.
Thank you, President. I have two follow-up questions to you on what the prosecutor has asked this morning. Let me first recall the working conditions, and you tell me if I got it right, and then I have a question. You talked about the 13-hour working day with 2 rather meager meals per day, unsavory working conditions. We heard about landslides or collapsing parts of the dam, unsatisfactory medical treatment. Did I get that correctly? Did I sum that up correctly?
Yes, that is about right.
Now, my follow-up question is, given these working conditions, how many, if any at all, of your 100 people died per month, let's say, if any?
There was one incident where people died from the soil collapse. As the soil was piled up high and it collapsed onto those workers and they died. 3 workers died actually. One died on the spot. The other one died when the person was dragged away, and another one lastly died at home. And when I worked at Kapaoi, a worker was crushed to death by a palm tree when he was uprooting that palm tree. I actually took that injured worker to the hospital, and then he was forwarded further to the sector hospital in Kampong Cham. And allow me to correct, in fact, the person did not die, and the person is alive today.
So let me sum up. In 3 years of working under what sounds like harsh conditions, only 3 out of your 100 people, of the 100 people under your supervision, died. Is that correct?
Only 3 workers died from work-related reason. That is in connection to the dam building. As for other causes of death, that's a different matter altogether.
Then let us now deal with this different matter. I understand 4 people died from accidents. So what about the number of people who died for other reasons? Again, out of your group of 100 per month. How many people died for whatever reason? As a first question, for whatever reason, out of your 100 per month.
besides, it seems that none of my workers died. They tried to find supplementary food to eat, and none of them died as a result of being haunted by traditional belief in superstition or ghost. But allow me to say, those workers were not in a good shape as what we are now. They were skinnier than what we are.
Can you then explain to me your previous answer, which was 4 people died from accidents? As to other causes, this is another matter. What did you mean by that?
President Council Kong Sam On, you have the floor. Council Kong Sam On, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on my feet just to make observation in relation to the questions by the Judge friends. In fact, the witness stated that the 3 workers died, and the 4th one actually survived after he was sent to the hospital. This is just my observation.
Fine, I'm not contesting that. Let me repeat my question. You answered earlier, 3 people died related to accidents. As to other deaths, that is another matter. What did you mean by that?
Other workers died from other causes when they returned to the village and worked in a rice field, not at the dam work site. And allow me to say, there were only a few of them, and maybe 1 or 2 of them out of 100 workers died from illness. And although they were being treated, the treatment failed, as it was mainly a traditional form of treatment. If you believed in the superstition, it seems that not many workers in my area became ill. Although I cannot say about other villages, but I believe the situation was very similar.
You said 1 or 2 died of illness. 1 or 2 in 3 years, or 1 or 2 in 1 year, or in 1 month?
In relation to the canal construction work site, the 3 workers died when they worked near the 1st January dam. And in 1978, they started working on a feeding canal, which continued from the previous location where we worked. And a workforce from the sector worked in a separate location from where we were working, and other communes were working at different designated areas. I said that I did not see workers die. Although we did not have abundant food to eat, we actually ate, despite the limited taste of the food.
Let me come back to the original question. You said 1 or 2 workers died from illness. I just want to ask you, 1 or 2 in the 3 years, or 1 or 2 per year, or 1 or 2 per month? If you can tell.
In between 1977 to 78, those people that I mentioned died, and that was all.
So altogether, out of your 100 in this period, roughly 5 to 6 people died. That sounds like a healthy working environment. Okay, let me get to my second question. I understand you were supervising 100 people. Your group of 100, were you working on the dam at an isolated spot, or were you working together with some of the remaining 9,900? I believe you told us there were 10,000 workers.
Allow me to respond. In 1977, while we were working at the Chinook River, we were working towards the south part of the Chinook River. And in 1978, we continued working along Stung Chinook River. However, it was about 3 kilometers away from where we originally worked. On the issue of the living condition, we built our series of huts, and we stayed together there, and we were allowed to rest every 10th day. And for the married men and women, on that day they would request to visit their spouse, while others remained at the work site.
Sir, could you please try and answer my questions as succinctly as possible? The question was easy. Did your group of 100 ever work together with some of the other workers? 9,900, if your 10,000 is correct. Or were you working for 3 years in a completely isolated place, isolated from all the others?
We actually worked separately from other units. I refer to the second stage of working. It was near Barai, but initially when we worked at the feeding canal of the first Evidentiary dam, we were closer to other groups. But for the second stage in Barai, we were about 3 kilometers away from where we originally worked, and we were separate from other working groups. We were given a plot of land of about 100 meters long, and that we had to dig 3 meters or 4 meters deep to make a canal. And our group was assigned to complete that work quota. We started working in January, and by June we had to finish the work so that we can return to do the rice transplantation in the rice fields.
This is now my last question. At the time when you were working together with other groups, and as far as you could observe at that time, were the working conditions the same, or was your group having special working conditions, either better or worse than other groups you could observe while you were cooperating with them?
If you refer to the time that we were working closer to other groups, we try to consult one another, and we would try to share fruit, namely a mango fruit, with other people in order to create a better environment with other groups, because it was not easy to share mango fruit during the regime. And that gave the initiative to the workers to work harder. And we were trying to work as one force or one group. And we achieved whatever we were assigned to do.
So I take it there was, at least for some period of time, not only cooperation but also communication between various working groups, units.
Our work depended on our strength, and if we united our strength as one force, we could achieve whatever we were assigned to do. Of course, we tried to achieve the work quota assigned to us so that we could say that our team completed the work quota.
Thank you.
President Judge Zamalavanch, you have the floor.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Mr. Ahu. I would like to put a few questions to you to clarify some of your answers. This morning, if I properly understood what you said prior to the 1st January dam's construction, there had been another dam on that construction site, and that dam was destroyed because of bombings. Did I properly understand your testimony, or I am wrong?
No, it was not an aerial bombardment. They did not continue working on the dam anymore because people used grenades to kill the fish in the dam. So then they work on another dam in parallel to the existing dam, and the new dam is still being used at present. And I may say it is being fully used at the moment.
Est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire
Can you please tell us when the Khmer Rouge started building dams? Were there any work sites that existed before the 17th of April 1975, or construction projects started after the 17th of April 1975?
The dam, which was named the 1st January dam, was named so when it was inaugurated on the 1st January by Comrade Pol Pot. But the actual work on the dam had started earlier than that. In fact, it had started in October the previous year, but it was officially inaugurated and named so on the 1st January, and later on it continued towards the west, and then the other segment was named the 6th January Dam. And the work on the dam was kind of a great work, but later on it was damaged by people who used a grenade to kill the fish living in the dam.
Et avant.
And prior to the construction of the 1st January dam or the 6th January dam, was there in place a policy for the construction of dams, reservoirs, or canals? Did such work start only with the 1st January dam, or there had been previous construction projects?
President and witness, please observe the microphone. Witness, allow me to elaborate a little bit further on this matter. Before the collapse of the Tribunal regime, a canal to the east was constructed. However, the height of the canal was rather shallow, and the water was from another source, from a creek. And by mid-1976, or rather by October 1976, the upper echelon decided to construct the 1st January dam. And they brought in heavy machinery tools to clear the forest and the land and to uproot large trees. Then they commenced digging the ground, and then they decided that for our group we had to dig a canal toward the south, and for the mobile units they will be assigned to build the dam. And many people were working with their hands on the dam construction project. And during the movie filming, they were filming the people who were carrying the dirt, and the village chiefs or the group chiefs were trying to carrying the earth while running along with other workers. And of course, a few days later, we were shown the film, and we were so happy to see it. And that's about the 1st January dam. Although it was a sole name, the actual work started much earlier than that. It was so named because it was inaugurated on that particular day.
Alors, vous venez de dire.
You have just stated that you noted the presence of bulldozers that were used to uproot trees. You also stated that many workers worked with their hands. Did you observe the presence of many machines on the site or the bulk of the work was done by workers using their hands? And may I also ask whether animals were used to do the work? Were they oxen used to drag the earth?
Allow me to respond. The heavy machineries that I refer to, I meant only 3 heavy machineries were used for the entire 1st January dam construction. There was a bulldozer, a tractor, and another machinery, and besides that, workers were used with their bare hands for the construction of the dam.
Were there animals who were used, such as buffaloes or oxen?
No animals were used to drag or transport the dirt. People were used to carry the dirt.
Fine. So if I understood well, there were several tens of thousands of people working on the worksite. There was one bulldozer and there were no animals. Was that the case?
We could say that the machineries were not actually used for this large and extensive range of dam. The machineries were used only to level the ground, and the tractor was used for that purpose. The tractor was not used to push the dirt to build the shoulder for the dam. Not at all. Purely manpower was used for the building of that dam, and no animals were used at all.
So the building of the dam, as I understood it, therefore consisted in building a levee of earth in order to retain the water. So can you tell us, according to what you know about this, what the height was of this levee, and what was its length? Was it was the embankment about a few hundred meters or a few thousand meters long? What did this represent exactly?
As for the 1st January dam, it started from Pre Srongai village, and it continued until it joins the 6th January dam, and the total distance was about 10 kilometers long. However, the height of the embankment varied. In some parts, the embankment was higher, in others it was lower. And sometimes a tractor was used to level the ground. I did not see everything. I was only told about that in other parts of the project, as I met those people every 10th day when we were allowed to rest.
So you spoke about a meeting that was held every 10 days. Was this a meeting among the group chiefs who worked on the worksite, or was this a meeting among technicians? What kind of meeting are you speaking about?
10 ថ្ងៃ
Answer. As for the meeting every 10 days, the meeting was held among the 100 workers, and people from Songkat would also join the meeting. And if there was a new plan from the upper echelon, we would sit and listen to the plan described by those from Songkat.
And were these meetings called criticism meetings and self-criticism meetings, or beyond these meetings every 10 days, there were self-criticism and criticism meetings?
Answer. Actually, at my work site, there were rarely any self-criticism or criticism meeting. We held the meeting to encourage workers to do their work. We held the meeting to admire each other. And some workers wanted to be part of the special force, so they worked very hard. The special force would start work earlier than other groups, and they finished work after the other groups. And the special force received fish sauce and meals. And for ordinary force, when they needed fish sauce or certain meal, they would have to ask for.
Did I understand well when I say that your group was an elite group? That is to say, the workers you were supervising were elite workers who were supposed to act as models for the other workers. Is that what you are telling us?
Answer. Perhaps so. One day, the district committee sent people to bring 10 pythons for the lead group to eat. We received 10 pythons to eat one day, and it was said that our group was a lead group and the best group. So I shared the python meat with other workers and with other people.
And then, was the expression hot fighting used? Were you part of what was called the hot struggle group or the hot fighting group?
Answer. I do not know whether another name was used as referred to by Your Honor. And perhaps my group could be named as such. People admired our group, so we tried to work very hard, and we could have delicious meal. when I say delicious meal, I do not mean that we could receive pork. We could only have fish paste or fermented fish paste.
So can we also say that the workers who were working in your group had been chosen among the strongest physically in order to be able to show the example and to go beyond the assigned quotas?
Answer: that is true, Your Honor. In 1977, 1 month before I was removed, I do not know whether he was the district chief or sector chief, and he asked me whether I and my group could finish the work. I sought Angkar help. I asked Angkar to give dice metal or dice buying and shove to help in our work. So Angkar provided with the materials I requested, and we could finish our work before the new year. I mean, I am referring to the new year in 1978.
So I have another question, which of course concerns the people who were working in your group, but also concerns, at least as far as you know, those who were selected to work on the 1st January dam worksite. Were these people who were chosen, did these people have the possibility of refusing to go work at that worksite? And once these people were on site, did they have the possibility of stopping their work and then to leave the worksite? Was this something that was allowed?
Answer: when I let my worker to do farming in the field and to work in the worksite, my worker never refused the work. We would go to work all together. And sometimes we work at night, and at our work site, there were many fish in the water, and workers could find fish to eat. So my worker wanted to go to work even at night time.
Fine. Now I'm going to move on to another series of questions, and I would like you to tell me that when you were a village chief, if there were militiamen in your village.
Answer: in my village there were militiamen, as there were in other villages. And militiamen listened to my order, and I never threatened those militiamen. We had to do the same work. We had to transplant the rice, and militiamen had to do the same work. New people and base people had the same work to do. And base people never look down on new people, because we knew that new people were newcomers coming to live in our place.
And did the militiamen have a special role to play with regard to security?
Slow. Answer. Militiamen provided security and safety for people. They secured the safety and prevent any theft of chicken or livestock. I told militiamen to secure the safety and not to allow anyone to steal chicken or ducks. Livestock were raised and they were put in the dining hall. And those who raised the livestock, because they were the owner, if they wanted to eat and cook the livestock, they could do so. We gave freedom to the owners. Actually, we had many ducks and chicken raised in my area.
And were the militiamen asked to make reports if they noted that there were enemies among the people?
Answer. If there were enemies, militiamen would report about the enemies to Sangkat, and I was also informed about that information. And if I told militiamen not to report about enemies, they did not dare to make any report. Everyone committed a mistake, but we tolerated their mistakes. I had my own way or modality of leadership, different from other Sangkat or villages. And the Sangkat chief said, if we wanted to know which groups are better, and then the groups should be put to compete with each other in their work. And if I receive the assignment to work in the field at 6 a.m. in the morning, I would allow my workers to have a breakfast at 5 a.m. before the work started. And we had our own meal and rice to eat. I had to support my groups so that my groups could be admired during the time that there was competition among our work in the field. We have been very happy since that time until now. I mean our group.
Can you tell me, sir, if during the Democratic Kampuchea period, while you were a village chief, therefore, if elections were held in order to elect people's representatives?
Answer. There was no election, actually. to select village chief. Village chief was assigned by the upper echelon, and if the village chief did not perform good work, and if he was not satisfied with the work performance, and then the village chief would be removed.
I was not speaking about the village chiefs. I was speaking about Kampuchea as a whole, and there was an assembly which was called the People's Representatives Assembly. So did you ever hear of this assembly, and were elections organized in order to appoint people in charge of representing the people at this assembly?
Answer: yes, there was election long after the collapse of Lon Nol regime. 15 days or 1 month after the collapse of Lon Nol regime, there was an election held in Barai Pagoda. Only base people could vote. Jam people and 17 April people were not allowed to cast their votes.
And who would appoint the candidates?
Answer: oh, I cannot give you the response. I do not know. It's beyond my understanding. I do not know how to respond.
Fine, I have a last series of questions that concerns religions. You said earlier that no one was allowed to practice his or her religion, whether it be the Cham, but also the Buddhists. So can you tell us when you noted that it was forbidden to practice a religion? Was it before 17 April 1975, or did this start after?
Answer: let me tell you, Your Honor, Buddhism and Islamic religion actually, we had practiced the religion in 1973. Rather, Cham people and those who practice Buddhism were not allowed to have any worship. In 1975, Buddhist monks started to leave monkhood one after another, and Cham people no longer had latitude or had time to pray.
I'm not sure that I fully understood what you just told us, so therefore I'm going to ask you to clarify things a bit. So did you tell us that as of 1973, people were no longer allowed to practice their religion, or on the contrary, you said that in 1973 people could still practice their religion? Can you please clarify that?
Answer: at the outset, there were monks and there were Islamic people. Cham people could practice their religion. However, in 1973 and 1974, Cham people were evacuated, and Cham people were not allowed to go to their mosque to pray. And as for monks, they would also do the work in order to help support the battlefield. And later in 1975, monks left monkhood one after another because monks were considered that they did not want to be in monkhood anymore.
So, were the monks therefore free to choose whether or not they wanted to defrock, or was that decision imposed upon them? And do you know if certain monks refused to defrock? And if that happened, what did happen to them?
Président, j'ai une question.
Thank you, Mr. President, because I have a question, since I cannot object to the questions of the judge, but I simply wanted to know if we were still within the scope of the trial, because pursuant to your severance order, it seems to me that this question of Buddhists is not part of the measures to targeted groups, because we're now supposed to only focus on Tram Kok. So I would like to know if with this witness who is supposed to describe the 1 January dam, if we are maybe now straying from the scope from the trial, and therefore what is the parties' positions with regard to this question? President, actually, in the facts that the chamber decided, we party were asked to cover that, to put the question in relation to 1st January dam. Actually, the persecution of Buddhists and Cham people were not related to 1st January dam, but the question I wish to know about the policy of the CPK. Well, maybe to clarify things, well, there is an alleged policy that targeted a certain number of groups throughout Cambodia, including Buddhists. So therefore, it is, of course, worthy to understand this policy. So I just wanted to speak about a general context. I'm not going to go into the details with regard to these issues on the January 1 site. So, witness, do you remember my question, or would you like me to rephrase it, or to put it to you again, rather? Witness, I forgot the question put by Your Honor. Yes, witness, I was asking you if you knew if certain monks, or if the decision of certain monks to defrock was a willful decision, or was this a decision that was imposed upon them? And if you know, can you tell us if certain monks had refused to defrock, and if they had refused to defrock, what then happened to them?
Answer. In relation to this matter, I do not have full knowledge of this matter. However, what I know is that all monks left their monkhood in 1975.
And my last question now, when you were working on the 1 January worksite, did you ever hear of someone called Tramkak Tai?
Et qui aurait été
And who apparently was a former monk.
Answer. I do not know this monk. I have never seen and known this individual.
Bien, je vous remercie.
Fine, thank you. I have no further questions to put to the witness.
President, it is now time for the adjournment. The court will take adjournment for 15 minutes, set by the President. President, sorry, I confused. It is now time for the adjournment. The chamber will resume, the hearing will resume tomorrow on the 20th May 2015, starting from 9 a.m. And the chamber will continue hearing the testimony of Mr. Witness Ao Ho as planned. Thank you very much, Mr. Ao Ho. The hearing of your testimony has not come to an end yet, and the chamber will resume hearing your testimony tomorrow, starting from 9 a.m. Court officer, together with a wetsuit unit, please find and send the witness to to the place where he is now staying, and have him returned to the courtroom before 9 a.m. Security personnel are instructed to bring the two accused back to the detention facility and have them return to the courtroom before 9 a.m. The court is now adjourned.